Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
Here, and you should be seeing my New Zealand yen chart. And right now, this alert came through at 11:30, which looks like it was, I'm not sure. Well, it was about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 candles ago. You'll see it's a down arrow. It's a sell. I put the blue line. This is usually my entry line, whether it's a long entry or short entry. That's the line I took. I did not take this trade. It doesn't meet the requirements, and I'll show you why. Right now, it's I'm going to zoom out, see how many red arrows and green arrows or zones we have, and you see we have 4 green zones, 2 red zones, and it's right now we have the strength is to the upside. We have an up arrow with the down arrow for the alert, and so therefore this is a no trade right now. We are going to mark off the contra trend zone, basically if it's going against the trend. Right now the trend is up. And from about the 1500 vertical line, 1500, basically the 3 o'clock in the afternoon vertical line, from 1500 to 1700 is a zone where we can trade the contra trend trades or the counter trades. And so I'm going to mark this at the 2-hour period. I'm going to mark this between the 1500 and 1700 hours. Those of you who understand 24-hour clocks. And we'll put that right at 1700. So this would be the zone that if we get a down arrow in this zone, and we can get enough room for the 20 pips, we can take this short, even though it's in an uptrend. This is the zone where a lot of times you'll get a zone reversal. I do like it is going somewhat sideways. So I do see, and there's plenty of room between the bottom of the red zone and the top of the green zone. I'm still seeing lots of room. There's 37 pips. So if we get the right entry, we can take this thing short, but we still have to respect the zones that we have. So we'll keep an eye on that one. And so right now we're still waiting for some new alerts. We did have one, New Zealand, US. I did mark that one up. And I'll show you what we saw with this. And there again, we're in a downtrend. We had down arrows, but you can see that the arrows are too close to the green zone. So there's no trade. You would have to go well, let's see. Let me zoom out here a little bit. You can just see that I just put these in here just to get some lines in here. So when we do get an alert, I have them right handy. But anyway, right now it's too close. You need 20 pips. Can't get off of that one. So that's a no trade. And British New Zealand, I haven't looked at that one yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I've already, the British New Zealand, I already got in and out of that one for 16 pips.
Oh, all right. Well,
it was a good,
it was a little,
yeah, it was a little tight, but it was good enough trade.
Okay, so here we go. This was the.
Excuse me, Al, just one moment. Can you please bring Christine over so she can man the Q&A and whatnot while I'm.
Yep, thank you. I didn't. I looked for earlier. She must have.
She snuck in while we were gone.
Yeah, Christine. Here we go, Christine, and we got Christine in here. Morning, Christine. And there she is. Okay, we got Christine in here now.
Awesome.
And so now we're going to be looking at the British New Zealand. And so we had the alert. Right here's the up arrow. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 zones there. 1, 2, 3, 4 zones to. So basically, this is an even zones.
Yeah, it's funny. Mine only has 3 red zones.
Really? Okay, let's see. Let me screw it.
You clearly have 4 red. I'm looking at mine right now. It has 3 red.
Okay. Well,
are you on the same time frame?
15-minute.
Yeah. Yep.
Same broker?
Probably different broker.
Yeah, different, bro. I mean, it looks very similar. It's just
Yeah.
that the two closest red zones for you, Al, to the price on mine are just one zone.
Oh, these are just showing just one. Doesn't show the little gap in between. Okay. You know, and when I see them that close like that, a lot of times I'm still kind of still view them as one. If there's a little bit more of a gap, then I view it as like a more of a level on a level. But generally speaking, I would treat this all as one zone. But I would expect that I wouldn't use the top one as a target because you know you got this little wick right here that's would be causing the problem. And if you do have, like, for example, like for this one, I have four zones up, 4 zones down. We need a 50 pip range in between. And if let's just took it off of, let's just say this bottom one, well, I have to go with what I have to look at. So from this zone to here, you'd be looking, and that's it's 47 pips. So that would be close enough to me. If I had the right entry, I would probably take that. If it's within a couple, I always figure if it's within a couple pips of within what the spread is, like right now the spread is about 2 pips, maybe we have about 2.5 pips for a spread. I would consider the spread as being part of that. So I would, if it's within 2 pips of that target zone, I would probably still be, if I had the right entry, I'd still be willing to take that.
Yeah, when I got in, there was 21 pips to the red, and I just decided to take profit at 16.
Yeah. Just cut down the expectation a little bit and go with that.
That sounds like a good move.
Good morning, nothing wrong with that. Good morning,
Matt.
Morning.
And so I'm going to move this over here so we can mark our reversal zones or our counter trend zones. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm trying to say. And so 1500 to 1700 in 24-hour clock time on the chart. That's basically 8 o'clock East Coast to 10 o'clock East Coast time. So if we get so right now we're in an uptrend. Well, actually, right now there is no trend. Right. Well, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Right now it's like I said, it's even. So really, the uptrend and downtrend is pretty much even. So I'm going to just put 2 arrows in here. That will that'll indicate that we're in a sideways trend. And I'll put a down arrow in here. And that shows me where these zones are. And if it comes, when we get into that reversal area, we'll take a look at it and see if it fits the criteria. It looks like that was a nice little trade. We had a nice little arrow. And let me see measure this out from where this arrow was right here. And we had 22 pips. That would qualify. And I said, I usually, if it's that tight, I'm usually out just a little bit before that zone because you'll start seeing reversals off of this little wick. You'll start seeing, this is where the sellers started coming back in. And this is where there may be a few sellers left up here that would probably help drive it back down again. So, but that would have been a good trade. Nothing wrong with that one. And let's take a look at some of these.
It's forming a little wedge, eh? Looks like it.
Yeah, we got a little bit
at the end there.
Right here. Yeah, we got a little bit. So it looks like it's sort of trending a little bit. Here's a rally. Here's a little wedge. Here's another little rally. Here's another little wedge. And it's coming right up into the zone. And I would not be. It would fit the criteria if when it gets as it goes sideways into this where these 2 yellow vertical lines are, to maybe get a reversal, and you might get an arrow enough to get to the downside. If we mark I'm just going to project and just get ready for it just in case. So if if that would be the target, 20 pips. If we could get a down arrow anywhere right around the let's see, it looks like about let's just say 1.90. Let's see, 1.190. My eyes are getting bad here.
1.909. Yeah.
1.9090. So I'll accept my objects. So I'm going to go with a projected open trade of 1.9090. Let's see if that goes this. that's right about in there. So if we can get a down arrow somewhere around in that area, we should be okay to take a trade. So target would be 1.9070. And then a stop, which would be 1.91. I'll call it 30. We'll just call it 91 for right now. And we'll just move this thing up. We'll just slide this on up just out of the way here a little bit and see where our stop would be. But this is not a trade yet, but this is something we're just sort of getting the line set. So if we do get a trade, we have the lines right there. And we can go on to the next one. So anything else down below here? And let's just go through some of the charts and just see. I'm going to take this this trend line. I'm going to take this one off.
All right, I'm ready to roll.
Oh, good. All right.
Eva's on board.
Eva's back in.
Eva's in the house.
Back in charts.
Did you guys get a alert in the last little bit? Mine's been acting funky. My last one was about 45 minutes ago.
Last one I see is a New Zealand USD is the last one I'm showing. I think we already went over that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I got it. And it's a sell?
It was a sell. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure my charts were working after the update there.
And so is there anything, any particular chart anybody wants to take a look at that they may have been looking out for the overnight session?
Actually, there was in the Q&A from Looney Cad. Says, looks like a bank induction on GU from an hour ago is coming to life. So I don't know if you're interested in having a look at that.
Well, let's take a look at GU and see what
we can analyze.
Yeah,
like
maybe take a peek at this one here.
I'm not.
I'm surprised. Okay, just got that one.
Well, it certainly looks like it's in an uptrend. So we're going to put an up arrow on here.
Oh, I had it on the 1 minute chart. I'm like, uptrend, Al. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's one thing we have to be careful as we switch from time frame to time frame. Make sure that we put them back to the 15 minutes, because you'll get alerts on whatever time frame you have your chart on. That's what the time frame you're going to be getting the alerts reference to. So just make sure you keep that all checked as you switch back and forth from different time zones to time zones. So we're in an uptrend. We had a down hour here. So let's take a look at. We'll spread out a little bit on this one. And let's see, this was, move out a little bit more, and this was right about the this down arrow had been right about in here, and going back down, it's only 6 pips, not enough room there. We are in an up one that's in a down arrow, so for an uptrend, if we get an up arrow, we have lots of room to the upside, which this one would work out pretty well if we do get an up arrow. And let's see what else. So we are looking at, from the price action standpoint, here we have the bounce arrow. The go is right here, right back into the zone. This whole zone, I still like looking to see what the range is between the red zone and the, so that's really, because right now it's really going in a sideways range inside this area. So I like to see what kind of range we have here, and from the red, top of the red to the green, that's 37 pips. So that's enough room for a trade, but we have to have the right entry, because there won't be enough room if we don't.
So Al, what if we you see there's a real nice trend line that you can draw from. You see where you have the USD JPY USD CAD on your on your
okay, so
on your chart, the low where you have your two red ones there,
this one,
and you draw a trend line across to where price is now.
Okay, I could do that.
well, not exactly where price is, but where that next low is, and then you might get a bounce on that trend line.
But here's the anchor. Here's a hit right here, and then here's another hit right here. There's our trend line, and that's the bounce that you're talking about right there.
Yeah, we might get a bounce there, and that might be the entry for a long that you're looking for.
That's very true. So what we do, we'll have that trend line. We have that trend line. We also have another trend where here's a pivot high. Here's a pivot high. Now there was a lot of lower. This was a nice little trending down here till we got to the green zone, and then it started trending back up. Here's your bounce arrow go right here. We had the green zone. We had the bounce. Here's the arrow. This was to go to the upside. And if you look at, so this arrow right here was a significant one. And if we measure this one out, now the question is, do we have enough room to the upside off that bounce? And I mean, the target at this point would have been all the way up here with 58 pips, and it got as high as 25 pips. So you would have had your 20 pips before it reversed. So that would have been a good trade. This was a contra trend trade. You can see where you probably wouldn't have gotten your pips. One, this would have been contra trend. This would have been another bounce. Here would be another arrow. But with this one, you probably wouldn't have done so well because it formed that red zone right up ahead of it. So you could have gotten in here as well, and you came up to zone. You've gotten 10, 13. Most you have gotten out of it. Probably wouldn't even gotten 16 pips with the spreads. You've got maybe 10 pips before it went against you. But right now, even though it's going against you, your stop would be down here, right in the green zone. So you have the screen area, which would have been somewhat of a buffer. You'd be taking some heat on this one, but you also know that you have a nice little trend line. So if it breaks this trend line, you'll probably get stopped out, but there's a good chance this thing's going to bounce off of here. So here we have a bounce. And now if we get an arrow, we could go to this zone. So let's put our projections in here.
One other comment while you're doing that, I'm just sort of looking at the charts. The euro is really weak this morning.
Is it? Okay, that's good to know that.
And it looks like the pound is strong, even though the euro's really.
So
the euro dumped against the against USD last night.
Okay.
So 1.3704 looks like about where the target would be. And then, so 20 pips below that would be 130, let's go at 136.84. That would be a possible entry. If we can get an entry below that blue line, we would be okay for a trade to the red zone. And then the stop would be at 136.44. 1.3644. Then the stop would be way down here. So you'd have lots of room. If we can get this thing to bounce arrow go, if we can get an arrow before this blue line, we have room for the 20 pips to the upside. And if we do a vertical line, and we'll put that right around the reversal zone. So we'll mark this for a contra trend trade, possibly. In this case, by the time this thing bounces, we'll be in that contra trend zone, but we'll be in the right direction. So it really wouldn't be contra trend, which works out well as well. Works out pretty well too.
Al, if you were going to put fib lines on this chart with an uptrend, I'm just sort of interested. Where would you do it on the 15-minute, or would you go up to the 1 hour?
I would probably. I usually start with the 15-minute, and if I need to be trying, here's what I usually do with it. Let me get my trading view charts up. It's easier for me to maneuver that, to answer that question. Where the British US. Let me get my trading view started here.
So we're coming down. We're gonna tag that trend line that we just did. So we're gonna see what happens after that. May have a really good bounce, or it might just slice right through it. But it's going to interact with it in some way, shape, or form.
Let's see, here's my trading view. Here's my trading view. This is a British US. Now, to answer your question, Charles, First of all I do, I start with a 15-minute chart and just looking at just the prices. And I'm going to see what I like to do is I like to start and see where yesterday's action and prices were. And so I see here's the high and here's the low of yesterday. We see you have a double bottom right here. So my first thing I usually do is I'll draw the box reference to the previous day's high and low and see where we are today with the overnight. And so we're going to pretty much just spot it right about like that. Now, if I didn't have a zone, if I couldn't find a zone on this 15-minute, I would probably go to a higher time frame. But right now, I can see where we have. I'm looking at this. Let me take some of this off here. One more. Here we go. There's our price. So right now we know that we're from Monday's high. Actually, this is Sunday, Monday's high and low, and we're right now at the bottom of this area. So I would be looking at for a wedge on this one. This overnight. First, I'd take a look and see what the overnight range is. So here's the overnight high. Here's the overnight low. So we basically have a 49 pip. So that's 50 pip range for the overnight, which isn't too bad. And I kind of like the fact we have a double bounce here. I would be looking at this one. I'd be more apt to looking at the Fibonacci retracement off of this move right here. Now I do like where the wicks are on the bottom. I like looking at a range and seeing where the wicks are, because that's where the buyers came in, and then up here is where the sellers came in. Now I would be looking at a trend line for this one. I'd be looking at a trend line from yesterday's high to the overnight high. I'd start my trend line there, and I'd be looking at one from this one that Matt was referring to from the bottom of this one. Now, here's one thing I'm seeing right now. I kind of like this little trend right here to this point. And the reason why I like that, I like the pivot, the pivot pullback on this one. And what I'm seeing right now is here's the anchor, here's the near hit, here's the hit, here's the break of the trend line, but I'm looking at this as being more of a trap.
Interesting, Al. I like that.
The question is, do we have enough room from where we broke the trend line, i.e. we broke the wedge. It came down, it closed, and this is on a 15-minute chart, came back down, tested this one, came back up. Now it's retesting the wedge, and that came back down. So we have a nice little wedge right here. I like looking for these extended range candles, like the long red candles or the long blue candles. I like using that as a reference. And I see like here's a little drop, here's a little bit of a base, dropped again, retested the wedge, came back up, tested again. So there's a lot of basing going on right in here. I like this wedge from here to here, up down to this one, up to here, and I like to flat bottom it. Or even just draw, here's a little wedge right there. There's our wedge. And now we broke the trend line. We came down, retested it. Now the question is this going to hold? And because this was the overnight low. This was yesterday's low. Here was the overnight low. So it really hasn't broken through that. If it can break through this region, and right now you can see where it's starting to break down. So I'm looking to see how much room do I have to the downside on this. And from here to, let's say where this is, it's about 21 pip move. So that's, if you were able to catch this little wedge retracement, you would have your 20 pip range to down here. You could take that trade, and it looks like it's starting to break down. The thing that I would be fearful of is taking it and expecting to go much further. We may get a break, but now, though, when you're asking about a higher time frame, now I would be looking at a higher time frame to see if it breaks this yesterday's low, which is basically where this is going to challenge this low. Here's a bottom, here's a bottom. If it breaks this, it'd be going lower, and if it does, now my question is, how far is it going to go? This is the next zone. See, this is like a rocket ship over here. This is like a rocket ship over there. So there was a lot of buyers coming in to drive that price all the way up to where this yesterday's high was. But so here's where the buyers are sitting. and there's probably some unfilled orders. So I'd be looking at this area as a zone that I'd be looking at. If it breaks, it's going to have some problems getting through this. If that breaks, I'm coming over here. Now, this is one thing, a technique I really like, is that if you see and you run into, let's just go over here. If I bring this up and I see where the wicks are, and look at this area right in here. As I spread this out, I can see that this is the origin of the strong move up. I mean, do you see the difference between this move and let's just say this down move, where this is like straight up. This one's sort of leisurely coming on down, and then it comes back down, just sort of lollygags down, and then just shoots back up again. There's a lot of, this is where all the action's coming. This is the origin of the move. When I take this this line, if I come in and I'm bouncing into wicks, if I come into a body, I come down to where so this would be the bottom of this move right here. So this is where I would be looking at the prices to come into. As if it breaks this wick, once it starts breaking the wicks, until you run into a wall. So I was like, this is the wall right here. Let me expand this out so you can see this a little bit better. As I take this in, there's a wick. Now I run into the wall. So from the bottom of this wick to the bottom of the wall would be right here. And so now we've got buyers. So this is where the buyers are coming in. If you see there's a wick, come all the way over here, still have some wicks. After this point, this flow right here, I'm gonna come over and see if I can find another wall. So here's the end of the wick. Now I'm gonna see if I run into another wall over here. And so let me scrunch this up here a little bit. So here's the bottom of the wick, and I run into a wall. Here's the bottom of the wick. I come in, there's no wicks at all into this whole area here until now I run into the wall. This is going to be the next area that if it breaks this wick, I'm looking at it to come down until I run into some more wicks. So from here to this point right here, where there's a wall, here's a wall, here's a wall, here's the wick. Boom. This is the next zone I'd be looking at where I would expect an entry or a target. So now backpedal a little bit. Here's a supply. Here's a zone that I'd be looking at for a target if it breaks. And I would call this a demand zone.
Excuse me, Al, can I just interrupt for a quick moment?
Sure.
We have Mariska in the house. Did you want to bring her over?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw her, but I lost my ability to bring people over. I don't know what's going on.
We have to fix that, Matt.
Okay, let me get Mariska in here. Mariska.
By the way, Matt, the pound US is looks like it just bounced off that support. I don't know if it'll keep going, but
yeah, I saw that. I'm watching it very attentively.
Yeah, so we may get our bounce arrow go here in a couple weeks.
But you see how this thing came down, and this right now I'm looking at this could really materialize. We do have it, but it broke the bottom of this wedge. So we have a strong move down, a little basing, formed a wedge. This candle broke the wedge. So this thing could start trending down, but I would expect it to be bouncing right around in this area first. If it can break this one, this is the next target that we'd be looking at.
It's got a lot of potential move to the bottom though in this one.
It does. Like
there's what I see at least 40 pips or so. You have a couple zones. Mine is actually all the way to the 15-minute Fibbo zone. What did you put there? Is that the 3626?
This one right here is a 15. Yeah, this would be this 15-minute. This is a 15-minute Fib. I would expect a bounce off of this area.
Okay.
So which
I got 3626 right in between your demand zone as a target I have with the stick there, with the stick strategy.
What was the number?
3626. So right in between your demand zone.
Just a little bit, just a little bit, about in the middle of that demand zone.
That's what I got.
Yeah, I think that'd be if this thing breaks down. But this is, again, now this is the technical aspect of this British US. And if we go back to where our arrow charts are, British US. So if we get, but you also see that right now we really can't take this until we get from the arrow strategy, we can't really take this because we're right into. Now I can see where this would be we have like a level on the level where if it gets strong enough, it'll take this screen out, but you can run into this problem right down here in this green one. And this is where we may get that reversal off this down move from the overnight.
And that's what, 36, 38?
I've got 36. I've got this one.
Yeah.
Let me measure this one here.
Yeah, that's half my sticks. So that'd be a great target. That would put potentially 20 pips in the bank or so.
Yeah. Let's see. But
I didn't measure it real good, but
yeah. The problem is we can't really take it because of the
exactly.
When we have a trend line here, this trend line hasn't been broken yet, at least not on this chart. And let's see, where was that other trend line? That was over. This February 2nd.
Your other one's on your trading view.
Yeah, it's on the trading view. I'm just trying to see if the time wise on it. I'm just trying to look and see.
Matt, are you considering this as a counter trend trade potentially, or looking for bounce in the right direction when it gets down?
I would potentially be looking for it to break to the downside.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking, but it's not really a bag entry. It's not kind of it just looks like an interesting setup if you know what I mean.
Yeah. The biggest thing,
you could potentially make pips going both ways then, right? You could, if it does break that zone, you could take it down and then it might bounce back
and
up.
Then you might get an arrow to yeah. So there's a couple scenarios, but that's how I really love to use wedges and trend lines to add a little bit more validity and catch more pips. So but if someone's just starting to mess around with arrow, I don't condone kind of going around and trying to draw a whole bunch of stuff on there. I just say get your win rate up with just basic bag strategy to the point where you're winning 70 or 80% of your demo trades, and then start exploring and then adding other ways to trade this thing. Because there's multiple ways to make more pips on this.
Right.
Yeah,
go ahead, Dal.
Yeah, what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at, we have all these wicks here. And so I'm going to draw this zone where I'm just going to get to where the lowest body comes in of this overnight zone. So this is where I would be looking this as being more of a trap here. I'm looking at it as more of a trap. It comes back down because you have this low here. It could wick down, but you have this overnight. It came down. It had a hit here. It got rejected. If it comes back down, there was to be 1, 2. If this thing comes down into this area right here, this is a good area to where it could probably be rejected to come up and retest this trend line that it just broke. And I'd be looking at more of a trade with the trend off of here up to the trend line, which that would give you your 20 pips. So I view this as more of an area. Now, if it breaks this, then we're looking coming down lower. But right now, from this, I think this is what we often call those head fakes, where it breaks a trend, it comes down. It doesn't really come down very far. It comes back up and retests. Now, it could come down into this area. I'd be more apt to buy it down here if I can get that bounce off of this, especially if the low here is here's a low, here's a higher low, here's a higher low. And so it has that upward trend factor that it needs to make a lower low off of this candle right here. It needs to break that candle's low with a close. And then now look at this, and this is a strong line, this 15-minute fib line. This is a strong line to where you'll probably get some bounces off of that. It would probably come down, pass it, check it, and come back up, or if it checks it, and it'll come down to the next probably 7 to 21 pips down below it. But right now, I would stay out of this trade for right now until I get more confirmation, because it's hitting the yesterday's low, and if it's trading in between, if it's in the trade zone between yesterday's high, yesterday's low, which was a strong move, now it's just coming to retest this area down here. So I would stay away from that, especially with the fact we have so much green down below over here. We have a lot of green
zones.
There's a lot of green
zones.
Yeah. So that's why this would not be a contra trend trade that I'd be willing to take, because you have all this green here. I would say if it comes down and breaks into the zone, you may be able to get those 20 pips, but I'd still be waiting for it to come back out off the other side of this reversal area to the upside to maybe catch, and which would give you a better entry to the upside.
Hey Al, yeah. I adjusted my my trend line a little bit, and I made it flat bottom instead of kind of pointing up, and it's getting some actual.
You're talking about this trend line right here?
Yeah, exactly. I'm making it more flat than leaning up. So I'm going from, and I'm not breaking any wicks this time. So it's got about, if I would say from price, it's about 7 pips away from price now, because I just made an adjustment.
So you're expecting a bounce from that trend line? Or you're looking at it to break that trend line?
I'm looking at for it to react. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but I'm ready to react to that trend line.
Well,
we'll see what happens.
Did we get an Aussie Swiss? We just got an Aussie Swiss alert here. Let's take a look.
Did we?
I'm seeing an Aussie Swiss. Let's take a look.
Yes, we did.
Okay, we have, I'm showing 3 red. Let me zoom out a little bit and see if we have any more red zone. We have more red than we do. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 red. We have, so it's in a downtrend. We have a green zone right here. So we are in a downtrend. And we're going to indicate that with the arrows. So we're in a downtrend. So here's our downtrend. This is our zone for the downtrend. And we had strong, now, okay, what we have to do with this one is we have a green zone. So right now we can't take the trade until this green zone goes away. But there is a possibility. We're in the trend. It has a zone, strong move up. It's retesting this little bounce right here. Let's see here. I do like this trend from this low, higher low, higher. Now this was where it really shot up, and we got a break of this. So that's one reason why we got the downtrend, because it formed this zone. But if the question is going to be, can it break this zone to the downside? I do like this as a potential trade here, actually.
So Judson
got the arrow, and if we can get down here, that's 29 pips. If we can get this thing to break the green zone, then we have a shot at this area right down here.
So Judson said on the 1 minute it doesn't look great, but that green zone on the 1 minute is going to be pretty significant. So we wouldn't take it yet. We would wait until it would slice through that green zone if it's going to do it. Right, Al?
Yeah, I want to see this green zone go away, come back up, maybe retest, pull back a little bit. Let's see, the price of that green zone is at 67.83, so 67.83 to 68.03.
So you made a good bounce on the 5 minute. It already made a pretty good bounce off the green zone on the 5 minute.
This is an area where you could probably go to a lower time frame. A nice little bounce here. Now, I don't think that red candle was closed yet, was it?
I'm
not seeing. Oh, there it is. It was hiding.
Now it did.
Okay, so we have the bounce. But also it bounced off of this zone right here. So there was it found some buyers right in this area. That's why it came back up like that. But I'll still say that if it can break through this zone right here, And so the green zone goes away, and that's at 6807. So at 6787 would be a target. That would be your 20 pips. And then you'd have 6707 to 6807 to 6847. And so the 6847 would make that 47. That would be your stop. Lots of room to the, you have a nice little barrier here. Again, here is the origin, nice big candle coming down. And then it just went sideways a little bit, just a very gradual low, higher, no, lower high, lower low, lower high. And now we kind of flattened out. We have a higher high, a higher low. And now it's retesting this. Now this zone was created all the way over from this. Here's where the bounce was. Bounce, arrow, go. So it's in the uptrend. This is what caused the uptrend here. Going sideways. This is from, this was back to what, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. So here's the overnight from yesterday's close. This was yesterday's close yesterday. Came back up, retested the zone. Now it's retesting the bottom. So really, this is the range we're looking at. It did break this pivot. If you look and see where we have a trend line, here's I like my drawing by trend lines from green zone to green to pivots where the zones were formed. And you can see right about in here is where we had the anchor. Here's the hit. Here's a hit. It broke it, came back down, retested the trend line, and now it's retesting this pivot area here. Once it breaks this, we have room to the downside. So this could be a nice, strong down move. And this is the Aussie Swiss. And we go take a look at that Aussie. Did we just get another alert? Nope, not yet. And let's see what the, yeah, I would be careful of this zone right in here. Yeah, we are having a little, we do have a little pullback on this, I believe. So let's mark where the arrow is. So if we have a blue arrow, which is here's where the 15-minute arrow was, it's pulling back. Now let's take a look at the 5-minute chart and see if we can get an arrow off this 5-minute chart and it can break through here, then we have a nice little trade to the downside. I still want to see it get through this green zone. And you see the price all the way from earlier this morning. It really hasn't. If you look at the overall range from say here, this is the high to the low. You're looking at basically 27 pips, I guess, from early this morning. That's not a big range. And that's on a 5-minute chart. Let's go back to our 15-minute chart on this. And we have 3 zones above, 3 zones. Let's zoom out a little bit more. There's the 4th one. So 1, 2, 3, 4 red. This one just barely formed, and we have 3. This was pretty much of a 3 and 3 up until just a few minutes ago. And the range on this from the red zone to the top of the green zone is we have 41 pips. We don't even have the 50 pip range. If it can break through this green zone, then we have the 50 pips. Then we actually have 75 pips to the downside. So we have down move, down arrow. We got to clear through this range, and then we may have a good shot. And we take this trend line, and we use this one. And we use this one for a. There's my other end of this thing. Here's the anchor. Here's a hit. if we come down, it could get a little bounce off of this. But if we can break that, then we're good to the downside. I think if we could break through this green zone, we'll be fine for a possible trade. Scale out a little bit, zoom in. Right now, you can see where it came out. We're getting a nice little bounce off of this. It may come up and retest this moving average, which is also, we have a nice little trend line developing on here. I'll mark that. Here's a pivot high. Here's another high. And from the wedge standpoint of this, we have a double bottom. Here's a low. Here's a low.
Aussie Swiss has quite a strong downtrend, doesn't it?
It does. This thing could go. Yeah, I'm looking at this. This is probably a nice little pullback. And I think we have a good shot at maybe getting something to the downside. This thing could, if this thing breaks to there, it could be, have a nice little trade on that. But we need to get broke. Right now, it's still inside the wedge. We still have to give it some room. These are nice little, this rejection would concern me a little bit because right now we have, it came back down. Let's see where here's the open, here's the close, here's the open. So yeah, basically this is strong move down, came back up, strong move back up again. So there's some buyers down here to drive it on up and probably want to get it retested up to this area. Let's find out where our reversal lines are. And we're looking at 1500. So it's actually getting into that area, the 8 o'clock time frame. It's 8:30. So we are in that time frame of a reversal. So we could get a bounce reversing up, and we could possibly get up. If we have an up arrow off of this bounce, and we can find 20 pips to there, we could take this trade contra trend. Let's see what we have here. Here to the zone up top. And it's only 16 pips, so there again, it's still it's a little bit range bound for the contra trend trade.
Yeah, I was looking on my trading view charts, Al, and it looks I definitely prefer it to the downside at this time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would be very hesitant just because of all the downward pressure to try and get 20 some pips out of it was Aussie Swiss, right?
It was Aussie Swiss, yeah.
Yeah.
Go back up here again. I didn't mean to make it small.
You're scrunching the bottom again, Al.
Scrunch the bottom.
Al and his bad habits.
A highly technical term.
Very technical. That's some pretty next level stuff, Al.
Yeah.
You know what? That's us. We come up with these terms that,
But right now, no trade. Euro Aussie. Let's take a look at that one. There's a alert on that one.
Euro Aussie.
Aussie.
So that
Really, Al? No,
that's half an hour ago, Al.
Well, we can still take a look at it since we're.
Did we already do that one though?
Did we do that one?
Yeah, that came in at core date.
Mm.
Yeah, no trade here. Looks like it's way too close. Target would be up here.
How close?
And we have, here's the entry. Here's where the entry would be.
If we zoom out, Al, is that a downtrend or an uptrend, my friend?
Let's see here. Zoom out or zoom in. It is definitely an uptrend. It's in an uptrend.
Yeah, strong uptrend. Okay.
So we're gonna an uptrend.
It's consolidating. You can.
And we're going to move this over to the contra trend trade zones. There's 1700. That's the 10 o'clock reversal. 17 to 1500. There's a 2-hour zone in here. You can see with Move this out of the way. 1500. And then 2 hours away from that. So from 8 to 10, 1700. And we see that the entry of this up arrow would have been at 1584. And so 1584, so you have to go 158.43, so 158.63. 158.63 puts us, actually, that would have been
Just
58.62. That would have been 20 pips. We'd have had 20 pips on that one. Can't take it now. We missed that one. And we did say this was in a definite uptrend.
Al, again, with that, we talked about this yesterday. When you have a down arrow and it did not bounce off a zone, I don't know that upward arrow would qualify as a true bag trade, though.
Well, it wouldn't really be. It really wouldn't have been a. Well, the only reason why it would qualify as a bag trade would qualify as a bag trade because even though it didn't bounce off of the zone, you still had the up arrow with room to the upside with the trend.
Yeah.
So that would still qualify it as a bag trade, from my understanding. As long as you have the 20 pips to the zone and you're with the trend. Now you may not get quite the full 20 pips out of this, just because you know that we had some sellers coming in to drive it down. But I look at this, a lot of times you'll have a 3-wave reversal. In other words, you'll have a strong move up, have an A, B, C reversal, and come back up and retest this. So this is really set up nicely for a contra trend trade, even though you're in an uptrend. We had the bounce. We're getting into our reversal zone, the zone where you can take that contra trend trade. And this one could get a nice little bounce off of here, down, get the arrow inside the zone, and you could take it down to this side. I'd see this one being set up very nicely. But this would have been qualified because you did have the 20 pips. Now, you may not get quite the full 20 pips out. I would not, if I started getting some resistance where I started having a hard time getting through that, I'd just take my profits on this one had I gotten in on this. But this one was at Euro Aussie. What time was that? It's at 12:45. That was 1, 2. That was 12. That was at basically at 7:45 this morning. That was right after we got started. I don't know how we missed that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of hesitant to talk about kind of slicing through zones. Just I don't want to project the wrong idea to people that haven't taken a volume of these trades. But every once in a while, those zones are not going to hold, right?
Yeah, the fact that this one has been formed overnight. This was formed over yesterday's money zone, basically. And so I would expect this thing to be challenged again in today's money zone. So basically, it's somewhat range bound, going sideways.
Oh yeah,
inside a relatively.
Remember what you frequently do with your boxes and stuff when you draw a big box, and then you kind of see the bottoms and the tops of the entire range.
Yeah,
and that's.
Actually, when you even look at where this money zone was for yesterday's money zone, today's money zone so far, right now, this one hasn't, we still have a little, this zone has not been penetrated from yesterday's high. Now, the overnight got penetrated. It continued that down slope, and now it's coming up to retest this area. That's why I think that it would be, this would be worthwhile watching to see it when it get a bounce. If we can get a bounce inside these two yellow lines with an arrow, I'll be all over that trade, because that would be a reversal, because then it would be looking to retest the bottom of here. Again, strong candle up. I like seeing these real long extended range candles and the origin of it, because that's generally where you're going to start seeing another retracement coming into play, which is going to be right into this. And I think there's a good chance it will come deeper into here. It came a little bit deeper, and right now we have lower highs, lower lows, so it could very well be starting to reverse this trend. This is a Euro Aussie. The Euro, let's see, where's the Aussie today, or the Euro today? Let me see here. We'll check our Forex factory today too. We need to check that and see what
kind of action we could have on the news.
What kind of action we're getting on the news here today, February 2nd.
Kiwi.
He's got some Kiwi news at 4:45.
Okay, well that's.
But for today, mostly, let's see. This is all the overnight stuff. Not too much. Not too much during the daytime here.
I'm gonna go check my FX book because I found that they have different.
Yeah, I need to probably get that one put up here too. The Forex factory is not giving us a lot of.
They're not. They're honestly not.
You're missing some stuff on that one.
Yeah.
And if we look at, so we're looking at the Euro Aussie, and I'm seeing this. I'm not seeing the Euro being. I mean, the Aussie is definitely the weaker of the currencies right now. So we'd be looking at a up move with the Euro Aussie. With that pair, if the Aussie is weaker to the Euro, that means the Euro is stronger, which means, and being the Euro is the first currency of the pair, we'll be looking at a move to the upside.
So, Al, just for an example, the difference between Forex Factory and MyFX Book, the Kiwi unemployment rate change and the employment rate and whatnot on Forex, myfxbook.com, it shows up as a high impact red folder news.
And what time is that?
Oh, that's in 8 hours, so it would be around 4 o'clock. So that's the same event there.
Okay, that's going to be about right when the Sydney market starts to open up.
Yeah,
8 o'clock this morning or 8 o'clock tonight.
In the evening. So in the next 8 hours. I like it because it says time left until the event, so you don't really have to calculate it. So there's no time zone or anything weird like that. You just know instinctively it's going to be 8 hours away or whatever.
And that's just a MyFX book, you say?
Yeah, and it automatically sorts them all. So I'm just looking through the rest of the week there. Tomorrow, there's some consumer price index for the euro. So that's going to be probably pretty significant right at market open. So, and then a ton of U.S. news.
Yeah, the one thing that I think my Forex Factory is better at is if there are sudden events, like a speech of a president.
Yep.
That doesn't show on my FX book. It does show on Forex Factory.
That is an absolute great observation because I find that my FX book has a whole lot more stuff going on it. It seems like it's more up to date. It's more refreshed. It's a great observation, Mariska.
Do you want to put the website in the chat box for my Forex Factory or my FX book?
Yeah, I absolutely will. Give me a sec here.
Another one is FinViz is another one.
Here, guys. Oh yeah, FinViz or whatever.
I'm checking there now. I'm over there now, seeing what we got.
Yeah, I saw
FinViz.
FinViz, yeah. Let's see, where's continue.
Yeah, I really am of the opinion that you mesh a couple things together and then you end up with a full story. So
this is what you're looking at, right, Matt?
Yes, sir.
So
and you can see there's significantly more stuff on there.
Yeah, so right now we're at 7. Is this local time, I'm guessing?
I believe so. Let me check.
Should be able to.
If we go all the way to the top,
that column is the time left, Al.
22 minutes. Yeah, it's local, Al.
Okay, there we go.
You see 22 minutes left before the next news alert, and right now it's...
That's a U.S. Red Book, low impact.
Are you on your VPS? Is that why it's giving you 155?
No, I'm not on my
Okay,
VPS.
because I've got mine set, and it says 8:55 is the next announcement, so in 21 minutes, and on yours it says 13:55. So it might be your computer time.
Yeah, I'll have to probably check. There's probably a way of setting the clock for what your time zone is.
Yeah, it could be mine. I never touched it, but
I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, that's for another day.
Yeah, that's
all we need is the dates.
Yeah, that's one of the websites there. So that's good to always know that. I'll have to put that in my little book of things to do.
Let's see.
And one of the things that I've also observed is when you have, especially for GBP, an entire range of medium impact events, that generally will cause some volatility in the markets as well. So there's no high impact news, but there is quite a range of medium impact on GBP.
I get you.
Hey, Al?
Yes.
When you have a chance, can you look at the pound Canadian dollar chart?
Pound Canadian, pound CAD.
First column, second.
There
from
we
the
go.
top.
There we go. Right here. We'll take a look at this one.
Oh, that's a strong downtrend.
Yeah, let's see here. We have let's zoom out. See what.
Oh, it's whoa. Yeah, no, I said downtrend.
Right. It looks like it's setting up potentially for a bag entry, maybe.
Yep, could very well be. Nice little
There's a lot of room going back up right now.
Actually, I kind of liking this one as a, I'm starting to see where you have like a little bit of a W. Here's a strong move down, come back up, retesting. Here's the second bottom of the W. Move this area. Let me move this one down.
Oh, that's really interesting. Good job, Charles. Check that out.
Yep, that looks.
That's it. Wow. And there's a really nice wedge there too. Really nice wedge. Lots of hits.
Yeah, let's do this now. So we have an uptrend, and we're going to zoom out a little bit.
I said downtrend because I spend a lot of time on the 5-minute chart. So on the 5-minute chart, it's a downtrend. So sorry for adding some confusion there, guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can see it's just dumped in the overnight, the London session. It just dumped.
Yeah. Here was yesterday's money zone right here, the high and the low. It broke yesterday's low. It came up when it opened up this dotted line. This is the new day. The overnight session came up, retested the money zone up here, which couldn't break through it, and now it's a strong down move to retest this low from. Let's see, this was Monday. This would be Friday's low right over here.
Ooh, GBP USD is just going right to the moon for a short.
GBP USD. GBP USD.
Right there.
We have. This is the one we were looking at to see if it's going to break this zone. We're in an uptrend, and this is our contra trend zone. So where's your target? Where do you get in? We don't have an arrow.
No, that's the one that we're kind of talking about. That's not really a trade a person could take unless.
Yeah, see, let's get our contra trend zones here.
Yeah, just to see if there's a way that potentially set it. I know we're going through a whole bunch of green zones, so it's highly not advisable, right?
Right.
Maybe I should just not talk about it.
Too late.
How about that?
That's a thought.
He's retracting that.
I'm retracting that, guys. How about that? Hey, can we rewind the tape? Make that disappear. But I'm still in the trade, but I just don't want to. I've got other stuff that I'm using, right? So,
well, if you're in the trade, you're not using the bag entry.
No, not at all.
And let's see. What was it? We were looking at the U.S., the British CAD is what we were looking at. You mentioned Charles.
Yes, that was another one, I believe.
Yeah.
Let's move these over.
Seems to be penetrating that zone, though. It's not bouncing yet.
Let's move this back to the reversal zones.
Yeah, it's tested the zone. Looks like 5 times now, right?
Let's see. We have basically here's the origin. Here's a hit. Here's a hit. That's 2. That's 3. 1, 2, 3. This is the 4th test of the zone.
Yeah.
Now the question is it going to see? We have this. Here's the when this thing broke. Here's the right where this yellow line is. This is the. Let's see. Let me move this down here to the bottom of the wick. So using this for reference, we have this is a. Remember I said about the wicks, then you find a body. There's really nothing underneath there, but here is a wick before it came into a body. Here's the low of the body that we were talking about, and it came back, it penetrated it, so came back up, penetrated. Right now it's going to have a little bit of a retest down in here. We'll move this all the way down to the bottom of the wick. I'll move this thing over. So here's a. This is the. I'm going to call this the. Here was this would have if we had this trend line up to this pivot right here. Here's where we had the break. You can see where we looked at this earlier. We had the break, came back up, retested it. Now this was where we were. The problem was we had the zone here, and we could have had maybe 20 pips if you caught it off the bounce of this. So here's where the bounce was. And I don't think we had 20, we had just barely 20 pips to this area. But but in order to be able to take that, you have had to get it right on this to get your 20 pips. We didn't get an arrow, so we couldn't take we really couldn't take it. Now here was the first one, first arrow down. It was contra trend, couldn't take it because it's contra trend. Came back up, and we just, as I said, if it goes contra trend inside this zone, if you have the room, you can take it. But right now we don't have the room because you have this big green zone right here. And we don't have a zone that have formed off the bounce. And this is where I often say is that this is where I'd be looking at for the trap. It comes down, it breaks the wedge. We have a nice little trend coming down from yesterday's high. Actually, this was pretty much a flat top right here. This was Friday's high. Here's Monday's high. It hit, came back down, gave us the contra trend because we are in an uptrend. But now we can see now the question, now what do you do other than sit and wait? This would have been a lower time frame. If you were on a 5-minute chart, let's see if we had a 5-minute chart, you would have had your bounce off of this wedge line. But you still wouldn't have had your 20 pips because now you have another zone right here, which is formed. And so there again, it's like it's a question of how much you want to risk for what your potential gain is. Could you get 5 or 10 pips out of this bounce? Yep, you could have. And if we were teaching the AIRIS wedge alerts where we're getting all the way down to like a 5 or 1 minute chart, this probably would have been a viable entry, but we've only been going for probably 7 pips. The bag entry says 20 pips is your target. That's what your target zone is. And then you're also risking 40 pips. So if you were to take this one off of a lower time frame, you could have maybe gotten 5 or 10 pips, but you couldn't be using the 40 pip stop for that risk reward. It's just too much of a risk reward on that. But do I think this is a possibility? I think I'm still looking at a possibility of having this thing come back down and give us another run to the upside with this arrow. Any other questions? And let's see any other trades that we have here. No more alerts. Any other questions? Anybody have any more questions or comments? Any questions we didn't answer yet?
No, we're all pretty clear. Everybody seems to. We just had in the chat. We just had Douglas basically reiterating what you're saying about not CAD being stronger than the GBP. So you don't want to be taking a short on that. Or is that what he said? No, it's not great for a buy, is what he's saying. Yeah. Sorry.
And right now, the dollar, right now, we could be looking at, as we're starting to get closer and closer to the opening of the U.S. market, usually I'm looking at seeing that the dollar is starting to gain some strength on some of the higher time frames, especially against the British pound and the Aussie dollar. So we'd be looking at U.S. pair, like, let's see what some of the U.S. pairs are here.
Actually, a quick question for you just popped up in the Q&A, Al. Christine is asking, I noticed your pip counter is in mid-screen. Is that the update change? I hadn't noticed that. Is that?
Oh. Yeah, Al's is. He had it in the one chart. It was right in the middle. You see?
Yeah, I didn't change all my charts. I think it was on this column. I think I haven't changed. Whoop, there's
lots of stuff going on.
Well, we got lots of alerts going on here. British Swiss. Aussie Swiss, looks like.
No, we did the Aussie Swiss, just the British.
Oh, British Swiss. We just got British Swiss.
Yes, sell.
Let's take a look at that one. And this one, I probably have it on my mid-screen if I'm thinking correctly. British Swiss. Okay, I can see right now this is in an uptrend.
Strong
uptrend, but it also could be at. Let's see, we're looking at, move these over here to there's 1500, so we're in the contra trend zone. And 1700. Down arrow right into the zone. That's no good. Oh, there's a 15 minute. That's we know we're in an uptrend. And let's see, so we zoom out. And we are in the contra trend zone. Let me see how the British Swiss. We're looking at the strength to the Swiss to the British. It is favoring the downside, actually, from a strength standpoint. But there's not a lot of range on this thing. The overnight from the 1 o'clock in the morning till basically now we're looking at that's 31 pips, 28 pips. But I don't know where you're going to get in to go to the short side with all these zones right here. Let's see what it looks like on a 5-minute chart. I'm still not seeing it. I have to see a little bit more strength to the downside. Right now, there's not enough strength here to see for me to take anything here against this trend here. If it comes back down, gives me an up arrow, and we breaks this, then we may have something, but we may have to look at a higher time frame to see where if this area bounces, if this breaks this zone to the upside, we are in an uptrend. Then I'd be looking at, if it can break this, where's it going to go? And the only way you can do that is look back to the left, get on a higher time frame, and see if you can find another zone up above. So I'm going to go to the 30-minute, and still the same zone we have to deal with. So this is the, let me get this pulled up here. Let me move this up. Let me move this one up. And we'll go to the 1 hour chart. Basically, I'm looking to the left to see where is the next spot going to be to where the price penetrated. And zoom it down. Well, there's nothing there.
Right. So we got like 7 minutes before I gotta run off and start up the other room. Dante is gonna be back now because he's done traveling, so he'll be on the call by about 10 o'clock or so.
Oh, okay. And let's see. Right now we're on 1 hour chart, still, or 4 hours, still nothing. Well, where is this zone going to be? And we'll go. Yeah, boy, this thing's taking off. We can break through here. We have, this is whole. So we're right at the very top of this whole red zone here. Let's see where, if we can find out where this thing where the origin of this thing is.
Hey, Judson, always great to have you with us, and we'll catch you later. Okay, have a great day at work.
Yeah, Judson. See you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Appreciate your input.
So right now, if it breaks this zone, this would be the next target area right up in here. So this actually, if it can break this, we look at this strong down move. We had a strong move. There's a little bit of wick, strong down. Right now, it's coming to retest this whole zone right here. You can see it was hit here, 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 here. If it can break through this, this is the next. This would be the next stop on the list. And this could be all the way up, and this could be a really nice move to the upside if we can break through here to retest this zone. And the pip value on that one could be possibly, this would be a nice little breakout trade. This could be your trade of the week. That's 462 pips to the upside if you can get this to break out.
400 and some pips to the upside, Al.
So I said it, but it has to get through this. It has a lot of, it's got to get through this. It is breaking, it's up near the top of this. So it has penetrated quite a bit, but it has to get through that first. I had to go all the way to a daily chart in order to find that. Let's see if there's anything closer. Nope, you can see it. So let's go back to our 15-minute chart. And right now we have a little rejection off of this. The fact that there is so much room to, if it's, this area has been broken, been hit about 4 or 5 times on higher time frames, this could be a nice little turnaround point to the downside if we can get this thing to break. And this is where patience comes in. You just want to make sure, just follow the rules, and you leave some trades behind that you look at them and say, well, gee, that would have worked out, but it keeps you out of bad trades. And it's more important to keep yourself out of bad trades and let some winning trades go, as long as you can maintain that level of winning trades. Right now, I like this more to the downside than the upside right now, but it has to get through some of these zones. It needs to start seeing a little bit more strength to the strength of the Swiss. Right now, the British pound is going to be one of the weaker currencies of the group, so I would be more apt to take this to the short side, but we have to get through this part first. And this could be this could be a nice little contra trend entry here. Let's see, that's see, the price of that was at 22.60, so 22.40. And but it's not a lot, doesn't seem like it's got a lot of movement to it. Let me see, let's see, this is the British Swiss.
Another one I'm keeping my eye on, Al, is the Euro Yen.
The Euro Yen. Let's see that. Let's take a look at that one. Euro. And now we have looks like right now I'm looking at it, seeing this in a downtrend. That seems to be confirmed on the higher time frames.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Again, my chart, when I go all the way out, has 5 green zones, and you only have 3.
Who's your broker?
KOT, Forex.
KOT, okay.
Oh, there it
1, 2,
is.
3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5. Okay, so we have 5 below, 5 above.
4 above.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah, you have 5.
I've got fifth
Yeah, you're
one.
right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 and 5. So that means
You know what? I'm sorry, I do too.
Okay.
But I think there's 50 pips.
Now we have 50 pips between here and the green zone. I've got 38 on that one.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna head over and get the other room launched, and I will see you there if you guys decide to come over.
Sounds like a plan.
See you,
Take
Matt.
care, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
See you after.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right, Al. There isn't. I thought I only had 4 reds above, but I have 5 also.
Yeah,
so.
I'll say it'll fool you if you don't get that thing zoomed all the way out.
Yeah,
it will fool you. And you first look at it, especially when you, and sometimes I kind of wondered about that myself, just because. I mean, right now I'm looking at this is a strong. This is also I have to kind of look and see how spread out these are. These are pretty well consolidated. These are a lot more spread out. So that's telling me that it's making a little bit bigger moves on the upside. This one came down, it kind of fought a little bit. I'm looking at this maybe possibly being more of a turnaround point. That's just a thought process, a thought that I have. I'm not based on anything other than my gut feeling about this. But the same token is it's still still in an uptrend. We are in our contra trend zone, which is at again 8 o'clock East Coast time to 10 o'clock, 8 to 10. This is the pre-market. These are some of the pre-market moves before the U.S. Market opens up at 9:30, and that's why these moves can be so valuable, because the pre-market the big boys are doing a lot of pre-market positioning. So to take a contra trend trade of this, but we said we just still need to have, if this were up here, we have the bounce off of this pre-market. That would have been probably a nice little trade, but we didn't have it.
Al?
Yes.
Robert would like you to, can you go over to the 5-minute on this pair? He's looking at it as a bag, please. Thank you.
A 5-minute bag entry.
Yeah. Your UI.
You know, you may have something here on 5-minute. You may have something here. Here is the entry. Here's the 5-minute bag. And we're looking at the Euro Yen. Let's see let me go and see something here. Euro to the Yen. The Yen is stronger on that one, stronger. The Yen is becoming stronger on the lower time frames. The Yen is becoming stronger. Now, I guess the question would be, I would say this is a viable bag entry off a 5-minute chart. Now the question is, what kind of range do you have to the target? So here's your target. Here's your entry down here. Well, that's 33 pips. If you wanted to take that on the bag as a bag entry off the 5-minute, I'd say it would qualify for that. Actually, I kind of like that. Now, I guess the question is it an uptrend or downtrend on the 5 minute? I should make sure we check that out. So actually, what it is actually, it's in the contra trend zone. We are in a downtrend on the 5 minute. We have more to the, but it is in the contra trend zone. This is an interesting scenario.
Does it matter that it's on the 5 minute as opposed to the 15, which is what Nate usually
well,
goes
the basically has the forex pairs are on the 15. It presents a dilemma, actually.
That's a little bit, doesn't it?
It does create a dilemma.
Goes on the question list.
You're in a
I have one for today, too, now.
I mean, you're on a, this is sort of like, as you, now, Nate will say that if you're in, especially like one of his techniques is the multiple time frame entries. If you have two down arrows, if you're on a 15-minute chart and you have two down arrows prior to the money zone, then you go to a 5-minute chart and you take bag entries off the 5 minute. So, but we don't have two up arrows. We're in the money zone.
So what if we check the 1 minute? See if it's clear sailing according to it.
Let's see. Let's look at the 1 minute.
Ah.
You have a zone right in front of you here.
Yeah.
I would say that if you were wanting to take this contra trend, let's see what room is from this one to this zone here. I don't think there's any 1 minute entry procedures on this. You have like 9 pips.
No, this is the peekaboo.
This is really peekaboo.
It's peekaboo, that's all.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't follow the rules. So again, I have to say no to this one. If you wanted to take it, I can understand the possibility. I would probably not quite expect. I mean, on the 5 minute, it's coming. I would have to see it. Where am I chart? I'm on the. I'm on the 5 minute here. Yeah, I'm on the 5 minute. Euro yen 5 minutes. So right now you have this zone right now. The entry would have been off of this one, so right here. I don't think you're gonna get you. Do we have the 20 pips on this one? Let's see. That's 46 to. Yeah, you only have 10 pips, and that's almost to the other side of this. So again, I would say no, especially now that we have this zone right here. This would be with the trend on the 5 minute, but you have a zone right here. Go back to the 15 minute. You have lots of room to the upside, but right now we need to get, I'd like to see an up arrow to take it long on this one. I don't think this doesn't really qualify much for me for a contra trend trade here. And having said that, it's 9 o'clock. It's time to wrap this thing up and go and meet Matt over at in Dante's room. Again, I didn't really get any trades today. Everything seemed to be kind of still range bound this morning. You may get something more after 9 o'clock, between 9 and 10 or so this morning. I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks everybody for coming in.
Thanks everyone.
Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, same time, 7:30 to 9.
All right.
Take care. God bless. Bye.